Hey, everybody, welcome back to Wynne's World of Numerology, a language I believe our souls already know and can lead us to what I call soulganizing our lives rather than organizing our life around the pesky little ego. I hope to be your self growth facilitator in these episodes. And if you are suffering in any way, I hope to help you reorganize the way you are feeling and experiencing your life. Today, we are going to deep dive into the second number symbol, which is two. You most likely haven't studied the number two quite this way before, even if you are familiar with numerology. So let's get started. In the previous episode, you learned about the definition of just the pure energy of the symbol number one and how it can either be driven by our consciousness to its highest potential or, unfortunately, its lowest. The one is all about new beginnings, new starts, and basically making your own individual impact on the world. And the number two is more of a feminine partner to support that masculine one active initiative. So let's dive in. And as always, we start with the solar cross. As you can see, I have drawn it here with our four quadrants, the spirit, the body, the emotional experience, and the mental. And so we enter in and move around these quadrants one by one in our discussion. So let's get started. As you remember, there's the one, really complicated, right? Well, the two gets a little more exciting. The two is, without a better way to describe it, it is, again, the yin to the yang of the one. It's the feminine response to the masculine energy. And so I love the symbolism of it. Basically, we have this rib of Adam. If you've ever heard that story in the Garden of Eden, God takes out Adam's rib as he's sleeping and makes a female body out of that. So the two is symbolically supporting on either side the masculine one. And spiritually, so as again, enter here and we start to move clockwise around the solar cross. So spiritually, you can recall there are very great people that have supported the person who is a leader, such as my favorite dude, Jesus. Of course, Jesus had acquired disciples and, had people very close to him. Some people even believed that Mary Magdalene was his feminine partner. And Jesus himself said, I am only the son or reflection of our God, and God is first. And then, now here we are as humans in bodies, giving us the illusion that we are one, that we are these separate individual selves. But there's a way of seeing when a two comes along, that combination can be really a lot more fun. When you understand duality and contrast is really what actually creates this opening to join in cooperation for something bigger. In nature, we have such things as land and water. We have night and day. We have the cute little caterpillar that just doesn't know it's going to transform into a beautiful butterfly, and many other examples in our natural world. So, spiritually speaking, two is better than one to have a much more interesting human and natural experience. So, next up, we're going to move down to the body, right? So, here we are moving down to the body, having a body experience. We move from the spirit into body form. And again, under the one energy, it's meant to say the body can do an individual action as needed in the present moment and become physically excellent sometimes, achieve even amazing feats of strength and endurance. So, adding a second body seems to be these two separate forms, but there is a really cool way of seeing them in combination. And, it takes two people to make a baby, it takes two to make a thing go right. I don't know if you know that song. And on your own body, there are two eyes, we have two hands, we have 2 feet. And basically, you need two to make the things literally go right. And, you can even say, well, my left eye is stronger than my right eye, but both are necessary to have the brightest, best viewpoint of the world, right? To have the best perception. So again, we need 2 feet to walk in a straight line. So again, two is needed even for human creation to occur. So two is a pretty strong support system to the one. All right, let's keep moving. we're going into emotions, right? So, again, the one energy in general teaches a person that they can trust their own lived experience above all others and can take action in needed in the moment based on their passions or personal preferences or even need for protection. But sometimes we need to reflect, right? We need to receive other people's points of view. And the two offers that sort of contrasting, dualistic, opposite point of view sometimes. And sometimes we even need to experience someone's emotions in order to be their support system, right? Sitting down and saying, I can see that you're having an emotion. Maybe what do you need right now? Or what can I do to support you? So, in our own selves, we internally, whether you're male or female, will have a feminine quality, which, people have called mother's intuition or feminine intuition. And it's just a way to receive a guidance outside of the normal logical one. Lastly, we are going to move into the mental space. So, after all is said and done, we become mental thinkers in our planet. And again, one energy in mentality is meant to be singular, focus, get on the goal and make decisions with clarity. And then the two can come along and sort of foster this action, fill in gaps with sensitivity and patient support. That's kind of what the two mentally can do is, kind of again in that reflective space, sort of figure out, well, what mentally can I do cognitively to add patience and support to this particular project. All right. And so as we move on, the next thing we usually talk about is karma. And when under the two energy in a numerology chart, there is no karma to discern. So I'm just going to kind of skip over that idea. But guess what? We are always, always subject to the psychological ego and its effects on our world. So, again, the psychological ego is basically just a mental activity of the brain that is perceiving the emotions, the body, the spirit as separate, feeling alone, needing protection, and quite honestly, is just confused most of the time. And so, if we take this deeper into the fact that the two energy is basically the feminine energy on this planet, we have a long, long, long history of feeling less than in a feminine body than a masculine body. So, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine the amount of layers that we are trying to collectively resolve underneath the two energy. And guess what? We've just entered the 2000s only 25 years ago. We spent 1,000 years under the ones, and now we're in the 2000s. So, it really is just the beginning of us understanding the complexities of the feminine energies on this planet, the layers that have been distorted, and what we are going to do about that. And then again, in one body, there are two energies, the masculine and the feminine, right? So in human form, again, when you think about that level of suppression, even in a masculine body, men think feminine traits are a weakness and haven't really engaged in that sort of reflective, what am I doing when I'm killing this thing or this person or attacking? And so, that's something to deal with, but we also don't want to go the other way and become hyperly female either as a male or even females who, do everything they can to look what they think of the image of femininity is, rather than just seeing like I'm a sacred part of creation. I hold the baby, or I hold the intuition, or I hold the supporting space. And again, because feminine energy hasn't been seen as a power alongside masculine energy, feminine energy will often either retreat as a victim or force themselves as a way to be seen and heard, which is not necessarily in alignment with its normal traits. So, just in general, egos over time cause us to fall out of balance. Two energy out of alignment might shun someone else's idea in pursuit of their own. They might become way too dependent on other people's ideas and never be able to harness their own one energy. And lastly, I think we have disengaged with the earth as our home and not using our intuitive understandings of all of the healing things that the earth does provide. And again, I think we're seeing a revival of that here in the 2000s, which is really, really cool. And the good news is free will always give us the ability to reverse our upside down relationships with the ego. And feminine energies can connect us in a way that masculine energies cannot. And if we can just all embrace, like, hey, there's a beauty to feminine energy and there's a beauty to masculine energy. But, when I'm under the two, I'm going to be looking for that balance a little bit more than maybe in a one energy. And I always think, as a psychological person, as a therapist, that the key to balancing is the emotional feedback system, this part of who you are, and also receiving wisdom as a form of intuition, where you trust this intuitive, part of us that maybe you've been talked out to in public schools, and accept that we have a smaller self and a higher state of consciousness that wants to balance. It wants you to be both a human and a being. It wants you to have this dualistic experience. It wants you to have contrasting forces, no matter what gender of a body that you're living in. And so, as we move forward into the next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about what like true balancing looks like under the three. So, again, thanks for listening. If you want to go deeper and learn more about how the two might show up in your personal chart, you can book a session with me. I'd be happy just to go over your questions if you're already a numerology person or, studier, or you can get a numerology chart reading from me if you are a beginner. And included in any session that you book with me, you get a free copy of my ebook, Soulganize Your Life. And to find out more, you can go to soulganize.com. And all the links to anything that I'm talking about will always be in the episode notes below. So again, stay free, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.